Hi, everybody. Welcome to Domain 5.0, hands-on exercise for the end of the domain. Today we are working in what looks like a blank file. If you scroll down, however, you will see the instructions are on page 2. Page 1 is a different section. If you go to the Home tab, to the paragraph group, and you turn on your Show Hide Formatting Marks, you will see that the first page actually contains a few hard returns and a section break to separate it from the instructions. When you're working almost exclusively with inserting graphics, it's often helpful just to have a few hard returns on the page in case you want to insert some text. It just gives you a lot of flexibility later on. So this is how I always start a document with a lot of inserted graphics. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the Show Hide Formatting Marks. Make sure your cursor is blinking in the upper left of the screen, and then we will do our usual split screen using the View tab, Windows Group, Split button, so that we have our screen in two separate views so we can look at the instructions at the bottom while we are working at the top. While I'm here, I'm going to turn off my ruler just to get a little bit more space on the page. So in the bottom window, I will scroll down to find my instructions. There they are. I will click again in the upper window so that I'm working in the upper window, and we will get going. So the first thing we're going to do is set a new color theme. So I'm going to work from the Design tab. Head over to the Design tab. In the Document Formatting group, we're going to use the Colors dropdown. We are looking for the theme called Median. Go ahead and select that. It gives us a different palette of colors to work with as we do our graphics today. Now that we have our colors selected, we are going to apply a page background color. So still on the Design tab, over in the Page Background group, we're going to grab the drop-down where it says Page Color, and we are looking for Gold Accent 4 lighter by 60%. So here's the Gold Accent 4 column. If I mouse down here, I'm going to find the one that is lighter by 60%, second one down. I'll go ahead and say OK to that one, and now we have a color in our split screen. Perfect. All right, that's number 1. Number 2 says Insert Shapes. From the Shapes menu, Stars and Banners group, we're going to select Ribbon Tilted Up. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Insert tab, to the Shapes button here. I'm going to come down to the Stars and Banners, and I'm looking for Ribbon Tilted Up. It's the first icon in the second row. I'll select it. Looks like nothing happened, but my mouse now turns into this plus that I can use to click and drag to draw my shape. So I'm going to click and hold, and I'm just going to drag it across the screen. I'm aiming for about the whole screen minus the 1-inch margins all around, but it doesn't really matter because I'll go ahead and set the size specifically next. So I went ahead, inserted my shape. There it is. Step number 3, formatting graphic elements. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. First, we are going to resize the ribbon to be 1 inch high and 100% the width of the page. So first, I make sure my shape is selected, and I get my Drawing Tools Format tab. I move over to the Size group. I'm going to select the Advanced Layout Size button here in the corner of the group because this says under Height, I can choose Absolute and tell it that I want exactly 1 inch, 1.0. Under the width, rather than going absolute, I'm going to say relative. I want this to be 100% of the page relative to the margins. I don't want to go outside the margins. I'll go ahead and say OK, and my banner has resized itself to be exactly 1 inch tall, and evidently Word thinks that 100% of the page when we are in landscape is 8.9 inches. Fair enough. The next thing I want to do is adjust the center part of the ribbon to be as wide as it will go using the orange resizing bubble. So notice I've got 2 orange resizing bubbles right here. This one controls the height of my ribbon relative to the entire shape. And this one controls where that fold lands. I'm going to drag this one as wide as it'll go. So I'll click and drag. And it looks like that's all the space that I can get here. So now I'm going to change the shape fill to green accent 5, darker 25%. Shape fill is found on the Drawing Tools Format tab in the Shape Styles group. Shape fill is right here. I'll grab this drop down. I'm looking for green accent 5, darker by 25%. So there's my green accent 5. I'm going to mouse down here till I find the one that is darker by 25%, and I will select it. I need to change my shape outline to that same color but darker by 50%. So I'm going to move to the next command button down called Shape, Outline, Green column. Once again, I will find green, accent 5, darker by 50% for the shape outline. Great. Then I'm going to set the text wrapping on this shape to square. So I can get at the text wrapping one of two ways. While I have the shape selected, I can either use this side flyout button here, or I can come to the Arrange group and I can choose the Wrap Text button, and I can choose Square. Either one will do. I'm going to save while I'm here, and I'm going to keep scrolling down. So on number 4 here, add and modify text and shapes. I'm going to click inside the ribbon and just type Foundations for Future. This is one of those little exercises in trust because I'm going to click inside this shape and it looks like nothing happened. But if I just trust and start typing Foundations for Future, sure enough, my letters show up. So I'm going to apply the word art style, fill white, outline green, accent color 5 with a shadow. So I got to select it if I want to affect it. So I'm going to select all the words in here by triple clicking. 1, 2, 3. I'll go Drawing Tools, Format. I've got my Word Art Styles group right here. I'm going to expand this gallery by clicking on the More button. And then I'm just going to mouse over these options until I find the one with the right title. We are looking once again for Fill, White, Green, Outline Green, Accent Color 5, Shadow. Looks like this one. Okay, so I'll select that one. I'm going to change the text outline to Orange Accent 2, lighter 60%. So here in the Word Art Styles, I got my Text Fill button, and I got my Text Outline button, and then I've got some word shape text effects, sorry. So in this case, I want to change the text outline. So I'm going to use this button. I'm going to grab the Expand triangle so that I can choose from my palette of colors. I'm looking for Orange Accent 2, lighter by 60%. Looks like it is the second tile down. Got it. I'm going to increase the font size to 40 because I got a lot of ribbon to fill up here. So I'm going to go to the Home tab, to the Font group, and I'm going to work here in this Font dropdown. However, if I click there, you'll see there is no 40. I jump right from 36 to 48. I want just plain old 40. The good news is I don't have to find it in the dropdown. All I have to do is type it in that box and hit Enter. And now I have 40-point font, whether it was in the dropdown or not. Fun, huh? Pro tip. Okay, moving on to number 5. I'm going to insert and format a 3D model. Okay, so I'm done working in this ribbon. So I'm going to click my mouse over into the page. I'm going to save, and then I'm going to start inserting my 3D model. So, Insert tab, Illustrations group, 3D Models button. I am looking for the Characters group, so I'm going to scroll down till I find Characters. There they are. Click on Characters. I'm looking for a seagull wearing headphones. There he is. I'll click him to select him and then hit Insert, and then I'll wait for a second while they're inserting my 3D model. And there he is. Awesome, huh? Okay, so I'm going to select the left view. Once I have my 3D model selected here, my 3D Model Tools Format tab comes up. I've got my views. I'm going to pick the one left. I click on left. Then I'm going to rotate the seagull until it is looking over my right shoulder. So I'm going to grab this rotation handle right here, and I'm going to click and drag. And click and drag. I'm going to tilt him down just a little bit so I can see his eyes. Yeah, that looks about right. Of course, you'll arrange him exactly the way you want him, but that's about the size of it. I'm going to set the text wrapping to square. This time, I'm going to use the flyout right here. The first option in line is square. Okay. I'm going to resize his height to exactly 3 inches. So on the 3D Model Tools Format tab, I've got a size button over here. I'm just going to click up until that is exactly 3 inches. And then I'm going to align him horizontally to the left margin. Format tab, Arrange group, the Align button here. I want him to be aligned left. That means he is going to line up with the left margin with my 1 inch of space here. And then that's horizontally speaking. Vertically speaking, I want to align him in the exact middle of the page. So I'm going to use Align Middle. So now there's my seagull hugging the left margin, smack in the middle of the page. Perfect. Let's save. So I'll come down to number 6 here, inserting a text box. Okay, we're going to insert the text box called simple. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, to the text group, and I'm going to grab the text box dropdown. The very first one in line is called a simple text box. So I'm just going to single click to pop it into my document here. I'm going to replace the filler text with the words "Sign me up, dude." So I don't even have to select anything here because it's already selected. I can just start typing. Sign me up, dude, period. Okay, I'm going to set the text wrapping to square. So I'm going to use this little call out here and call it square. Then I'm going to drag the text box to the right of the seagull. So I'm going to put my cursor right on the border there till I get that four-headed directional arrow. I'll click and I'll drag, and I'll put him right down here to the right side of the seagull. Now I'm going to change my text box shape to the callouts category speech bubble oval. Okay, so make sure your text box is selected. Then we're going to go to the Drawing Tools Format tab, and we're going to come over here to this Insert Shapes group, and this little button right here is the Change Shape button. If I grab this and grab the flyout and come all the way down to callouts, this third one in line is the speech bubble oval. So I'll click on that. I'm going to change the font to ink-free 18 points center aligned. So I'm going to triple click to get the whole thing selected. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to center align. I'm going to grab my font drop down there. If you've used ink-free recently, it might be here in your recently used fonts. If not, you're going to have to scroll all the way down to the eyes and you'll find ink-free, and you will choose 18-point font. Now we're going to resize the oval to fit the text. I'm going to grab the corner resizing handle, and I am going to make this 2 lines, nice and round, very cute. And then I'm going to drag the point of the speech bubble to the seagull's beak. So again, this orange resizing handle, if I click and hold, it allows me to move that point up so that it looks like the seagull saying these fabulous words, "Sign me up, dude." Okay, so there's my seagull. I'm going to save, and let's see what's next. So let's go to the Insert Smart Art option here. We are going to insert the smart art called a vertical curved list from the list category. So once again, we head to the Insert tab. We head over to the Smart Art button right here. And from the graphic that pops up, we're going to choose List from the left-hand side because we know we want to choose from the lists. And we want the one called a curved vertical list. I suspect it's this one. Yep, vertical curved list. So I'm going to click on it once. This is what the preview will look like. And I'll say, OK. So this pops up. It's close to what I want, but we can make it better. First thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here to remember what we need to fill these points with. Okay, so it comes with 3 existing bullet points. Pro tip, don't type inside the smart art. It's too hard to remember exactly how Word is thinking about what bullet points go where and which level belongs where. I encourage you to always just click on this text pane, flyout, get the text pane, and type in here. So the first one we're going to populate with the word digital literacy. Then we're going to click in the next bullet point and we're going to type in here Microsoft Office, capital S, specialist. And then the third one, we're going to type help desk. And then we're going to hit enter because we're going to add 2 more bullet points. And the first one will read network operations. And the last one will read, got to go over the page break here, network analyst. Okay, cool. Got that done. I can close my text pane. So now that we've got our smart art inserted and populated, now we are going to format the smart art. So the first thing we're going to do is change the smart art color theme to colorful accent colors. So you got Smart Art Tools Design and Smart Art Tools Format. Remember, these tools only show up when you have the smart art selected. If I click anywhere else on my page, those tools go away. So I have to select my smart art for this to work. Also, when you are trying to change things or format your smart art, you have to be very careful about what you're selecting. all of these individual pieces of my smart art can be formatted as individual pieces. What we want to do is affect the entire smart art, so I have to click on the boundary box one time, and then my only resizing handles show up on the outside edges. That's how I know I'm affecting the entire smart art. So I'm going to go to Smart Art Tools, Design, and the first button almost directly underneath Design is called Change Colors. Grab that drop down, go to the colorful list, and the very first option there is colorful accent colors. So I'm going to select that, got my colors in place. Now I'm going to change the Smart Art style to Inset. These are pre-baked styles that make your shapes take on different formatting. I'm going to expand this gallery. I'm going to work in the 3D row here, and the second option in is called Inset. That's the one I want. It makes all of these colorful rectangles look very 3D, like buttons you can push. I'm going to change the size of my smart art to 3.5 inches high by 6.0 inches wide. It may or may not already be sized that way, so we're going to check. We're going to go to the Smart Art Tools Format tab, and the very last command button here is the size dropdown, and it looks like mine is already sized correctly. If yours is not, go ahead and make sure that it is 3.5 by 6. Go ahead and close out of there. I'm going to set my text wrapping to tight. If you want to, you can use this button here, or you can come to the Arrange group here and you can choose the Wrap Text button and you can choose Tight. Now, once you choose Tight, you're going to see that your smart art all of a sudden is way the heck up there and it's sitting on top of everything, which is not what we want. So let's scroll back to the instructions and figure out how to fix this. Okay, next point says align to the right horizontally and to the middle vertically. So we're going to continue working in this Smart Tools Format Arrange group. We're going to use the Align button right here. When you grab the Align button, make sure, first of all, that the check mark is in front of Align to Margin, not Align to Page. If you use Align to Page, when you ask it to align, say, at the top or the bottom or the left or the right, it's not going to respect your 1-inch margins all around. If you want to respect that white space, you need to make sure Align to Margin is checked here. So mine is already checked. So I was wanting to align this to the right, horizontally speaking. So now this zooms over to the right. And then I want to align it in the middle of the page, vertically speaking. So I'm going to click Align Middle. And now it is smack in the center of my page, right next to my seagull. Great. All right. I set the text wrapping to tight. I aligned right and middle, and now I'm going to increase the font size to 24 plus. Once again, I want to make sure that nothing inside this is selected. I have the entire thing selected. I'm going to go to the Home tab. I'm going to go to this Increase Font Size button, and I'm going to click it once and twice. That takes me up to 24 plus, makes this all bigger, a little bit easier to read. Go ahead and save. And then I'm going to go down to number 9, which is Add Alt Text. So I'm going to select the speech bubble, and I'm going to add some alt text to describe this object for low vision software. So I'm going to go to Drawing Tools Format, and I'm going to go to the Alt Text button. And when software for low vision users is trying to describe what's on this page, it thinks this text box is just an object. It doesn't understand that there's text inside there. So I need to tell it what's going on here. And I will say, Seagull saying, sign me up, dude. So now the software knows what to say. Don't know that it'll make any more sense to a low vision user, but there you have it. And there's no need to save. You can just close that sidebar and the alt text has been saved. Okay, second to last thing I'm going to do here is insert one more shape. So I'm going to click inside the upper part of my document so that I'm working up here again, and I'm going to insert a shape called a rectangle with rounded corners. So I'll go to the Insert button, I'll go to the Illustrations group, to the Shapes, and from the Rectangles group, I'm going to choose the one called Rectangle with Rounded Corners. Once again, looks like nothing happened, but my mouse turned into this plus. I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to draw a rectangle about as wide as my screen. I don't know. I'm going to resize it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to resize it to 1 inch high and 100% wide, just like we did before. So make sure your rectangle is selected. go to Drawing Tools, Format, and over to Size. I'm going to grab that Advanced Layout Size button again. And under Absolute, I want to make this 1 inch. So I'm going to select it. It's going to be 1.0 inches high. Under Width, I want it to be relative to the margins. I want this to take up 100% of the space. And I'll say OK. And now this resizes itself to respect the settings. I'm going to change the shape fill to Orange Accent 2, lighter by 40%. So Drawing Tools, Format, Shape Fill, Orange Accent 2, lighter by 40%, right there. I'm going to click and add text, Start Your Journey Today. Once again, Exercise and Trust. I just click on it and then I start typing. Start your journey today, whoops, capital T, today, exclamation point. I'm going to select the whole thing with a triple click. I'm going to change the text to Harlow, solid italic, 44 points, left aligned. We do all that on the Home tab in the font and the paragraph group. I'm going to grab the drop down under font and I'm going to choose Harlow, solid italic. You'll have to scroll down to the H's if you don't have it in your recently used fonts. Grab the drop down here. You'll notice we do not have 44 points, so I'm just going to have to type it in. I'm going to delete, and 44 and hit Tab. Then I'm going to align it left. There we go. Aligned left. Perfect. I'm going to change the font color to green accent 5, darker 25%. Here is my font color button. Remember, I have to grab the expand triangle to get the menu. Otherwise, I'm just turning everything whatever color is sitting underneath the letter A there. I want green accent 5, darker by 25%, which is, I believe, second to the bottom. Yep. And then I'm going to set my text wrapping on this shape to tight, which I believe is the second one in right here. Okay. So that's my bottom shape. Oh, and I forgot to align it to the bottom vertically and center horizontally. So I'm going to click on my shape, Drawing Tools, Format. Let's go to the Align button. I'm going to align it to the center of my page, and I'm going to align it to the bottom of my page. And remember, because I had Align to Margin selected here, when I said Align to Bottom, it's respecting my 1 inch of space at the bottom of the page right here. Okay, so what's the next thing I'm going to do? Number 11, insert picture. Using an online picture, insert an image of a suitcase. Okay, I'll go to Insert, go to Online Pictures, and I will type suitcase. And I'm just going to scroll through here and see if I can find one that I like. Well, I kind of like this one. So I'll click on that and I will say Insert. So now I've got this big picture of a suitcase and it popped in to my picture and it messed everything up. Don't panic. We're going to fix this. Just keep with it, keep following the instructions, and it's going to work out, I promise. So I inserted the picture. Remove an attribution if one appears. See how I've got this little attribution here? I'm not using this to go out and make money, so I feel comfortable deleting this. So I'm going to grab this text box by the edge. I'm going to click one time on the border, and then I'm going to hit my delete key. Out it goes. Okay, so I removed the attribution. I'm going to set the text wrapping to square. This is what's going to change everything. If I grab this side menu here and say square, it's going to allow this picture to float around inside the page without messing with all of the rest of the stuff. It puts it in a little square frame of its own. Okay, so there's that. Now what? So I'm going to resize this to fit neatly inside the right end of the rounded rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to click on my picture here, Picture Tools, Format. Here's the size button. If you know exactly what size you want this to be, you can type in your dimensions here. I always like to go to the Advanced Layout tab, and I like to make sure that the aspect ratio has been locked. That means that whatever I do to it's going to preserve how tall this is to how wide this is so that I can't squish it or stretch it weirdly. All this means is if this box is checked, when I grab this corner resizing handle, it doesn't matter how far I drag it one way or the other, the ratio of height to width is going to be preserved, so the suitcase is never going to look weird. So then I'm going to put my cursor right in the middle of the suitcase and click and drag. And I'm going to drag down to the bottom here, and I'm going to plop it right inside the end of my banner. So it fits neatly inside there. You may need to make it a little bigger or a little smaller, but there it is. So if your picture has a background on it, like there's a white fill behind it and you don't like that, click on the picture, Picture Tools Format. The very first button here is called Remove Background, and it automatically takes the background out of your picture. So if you need to do that, now's the time, go ahead. I got lucky and just happened to pick one with a transparent background. Apply the picture style Compound Frame Black. This puts a cool frame around your picture. Picture Tools Format, Picture Styles are here. Expand the gallery by clicking the More button right here. And the Compound Frame Black is this one. For me, it's the second row, second from the end. I'm going to click on that. Gives me a nice frame on my picture. You can also apply artistic effects at this point. So if you want to transform this picture in some way, you can come over here while it's still selected, grab that drop down by artistic effects, and choose one of these cool effects for your picture. I kind of like this one because it's shiny, and I have chosen kind of a shiny style for my smart art. So it kind of goes together. Then I'm going to rotate a few degrees to the right so it looks kind of like a snapshot. So I'm going to grab this rotation handle, click, and turn it just a couple of degrees so it looks kind of cool. And there it is. All right. Number 12, I'm going to go ahead and save my work. Number 12 says, remove the split. Admire your work without the split screen. Congratulations. All right, so I'm going to come back up here. And I'm going to go to the View tab, and I'm going to say Remove Split. And now this is the thing that happens sometimes. If removing the split removed your page background, just go back to the Design tab, go back to the page color, and choose it again. It's still selected. It's just a glitch in the software. You may need to select it again. But I'm going to take my magnification down so I can see my whole page. And there it is. You have a lovely flyer for Foundations for Future. Congratulations. If you have any questions about anything that we did here today, don't hesitate to reach out to your instructor or a peer to get those questions answered. Also, feel free to redo this exercise as many times as you need to until you feel really comfortable in these skills. And then you're ready to move on to Domain 6.0. All right, good luck. Thanks. Bye.